All right, today what we are going to do is take some notes on another group of boot verbs, O to UE boot verbs. So the steps that you learned last chapter with E to IE verbs, it's the same exact steps, but we're just looking at a new spelling change here. So let's review real quick. When we conjugate a different verb, remember we take off the ending, put a new ending back on, but we said with boot verbs, we need to apply a spelling change here. So in this case, the new verbs we're going to be looking at in this chapter, the O is going to change to UE in these verbs in all forms except nosotros and vosotros. So remember, those two forms are outside of the boot, so we don't need to do the spelling change. Okay, let's talk about what these verbs mean first, and then we'll look at a couple of examples of how we conjugate them. So almorzar is to eat lunch. Costar, you actually learned this last chapter, to cost. So think back to your fashion show when you were talking about how much items cost. You were using this verb already. Dormir is to sleep. You can see that already here. Encontrar is to find. Poder is to be able to or can. And then volver is to return. Like if you were saying, I returned back to school. So returning more to a place. Okay, so now let's look at how do we conjugate this verb. Let's use almorzar as our example. So almorzar we know is to eat lunch. Whoops. Here we go. To eat lunch. Now, when I want to conjugate this verb, how would I say I eat lunch? So our very first step, remember, is we take off our AR ending or our ending. This is one, I'm just going to delete it right now so you can kind of see the spelling here. So almorzar, take off the ending. And then this O here, this is gonna now change to UE when it's inside of the boot, inside of the shaded in boxes. So I'm gonna put my new stem, and then almorzar is an AR verb, so I need to make sure I use my AR endings. So I have almuerzo, almuerzas, almuerza. Now, nosotros is outside of the boot, so we do not need to change the O to UE. We use our original spelling, so almorzamos. And then for vosotros, almorzáis. And then back to ellos, ellas, ustedes, we're inside of the boot, so we do need our spelling change, almuerzan. So when you're thinking about this, making sure that we always pay attention to the kind of verb. This is an AR verb. So look back at previous notes for those AR endings. We need to make sure that matches. Okay, another example. Poder, to be able to or can. So if I said, for example, I can do the homework, or I am able to go to school. Then poder, so I'm just going to kind of make this a little bigger so we can go through our steps. That's our original form. I take off my ending, so this ER ending goes away. Now this O is going to change to UE when it's inside of the boot. So that would be my new stem. Add my new ending. Puedo is I can or I am able to. The to form, puedes. Now it's an ER verb, so remember our original form was poder, ER verb, so therefore I'm using my correct ER endings. Don't forget to always look at that. Puede would be él, ella, usted, he or she can. Nosotros now is outside of the boot. I do not need to make my spelling change, so I have podemos. Vosotros, no spelling change. So we have podés. And then ellos, ellas, ustedes, back to our boot. So O changes to UE with pueden. All right.